Jide had always admired his older brother, Kola. Kola was confident, successful, and carried a natural charm that made people gravitate toward him. Growing up in Lagos, the two brothers had shared a close bond, though Kola had always been more outgoing and determined, while Jide was quieter, preferring books to parties and conversation. After completing his degree abroad, Jide returned to Nigeria to visit his brother, who now lived in a beautiful mansion on the outskirts of the city. Jide arrived on a humid afternoon. The journey had been exhausting, but as he entered Kola's grand home, he couldn't help but admire his brother's success. The house was filled with elegant furniture, African art, and large windows that let in the sunlight. Kola greeted him with a wide smile and a warm embrace, proud to show off his accomplishments to his younger brother, Jide. "Look at you. You've grown into quite the man," Kola said, leading Jide into the spacious living room. "Brother, I see you're living well," Jide replied with a smile. He was happy for Kola, though he also felt a hint of awe at the grandeur around him. After settling in, Jide freshened up and came downstairs to have a late lunch with his brother. That's when he first noticed her. She was carrying a tray with a jug of water and glasses, moving quietly and gracefully across the room. Her name was Amora, and she was Kola's maid. She was dressed simply, in a plain blue gown and an apron, but her poise and beauty made her stand out. Her eyes met Jide's briefly before she looked away, her face slightly flushed. Jide felt something stir within him as he observed her. He couldn't take his eyes off her, and Kola, noticing his brother's distraction, chuckled. "Amora, this is my younger brother, Jide," Kola said, introducing them. Amora offered a polite nod, murmuring, "Nice to meet you, sir," before quickly excusing herself to the kitchen. Over the next few days, Jide found himself stealing glances at Amora whenever she was around. He noticed her thoughtful manner, the way she listened intently to anyone speaking, and the gentleness with which she went about her duties. She would come to serve meals, tidy up the rooms, or water the plants in the garden, always moving with an air of calm and kindness. Jide tried to ignore his feelings. He reminded himself that Amora was his brother's maid, and it felt inappropriate to pursue any interest in her. However, his heart seemed to have a mind of its own, and he found himself looking forward to every moment he might see her. One morning, as he was sitting outside, enjoying a cup of coffee, Amora came out to water the flowers. The sun cast a golden glow over her, and Jide felt a surge of courage. "Amora," he called softly, and she looked up, slightly startled but curious. "Yes, sir," she responded, her voice gentle. "Please, call me Jide," he said, offering her a small smile. "I wanted to ask, do you like working here?" Amora hesitated, clearly caught off guard. "Yes, Jide. I like it here. Your brother has been very kind to me." "I'm glad to hear that," he said, sensing her discomfort. "It must be hard work, though." Amora nodded, still a bit wary, but she gave a faint smile. "It is, but I'm grateful for it. My family, they need my support." Jide's heart softened at her words. He felt a desire to know more about her, to understand her life and struggles. Yet, he knew he needed to be patient, to respect the boundaries between them. Over the next few days, Jide continued to engage Amora in gentle conversation whenever he could, always careful to keep things respectful. Slowly, she grew more comfortable around him, and he learned that she came from a small village in the eastern part of Nigeria. Her family depended on her income, and she had taken the job with Kola to help support her younger siblings. One evening, Jide found her sitting alone in the garden, gazing up at the stars. He approached her quietly and sat down nearby. "Do you ever miss your village?" he asked softly. Amora nodded, her eyes distant. "Every day. But life is not always what we want, is it?" Jide understood the weight of her words. He could see the strength she carried, the sacrifices she had made. A silence fell between them, but it was a comforting one, as though they both understood each other without needing words. As the days went on, Jide found himself falling deeper in love with Amora. Her resilience, kindness, and grace had captivated him in a way he had never experienced before. But he was unsure how to proceed. He knew his brother might not approve, and he feared putting Amora in an awkward position. Finally, on his last night before returning to Lagos, Jide knew he had to tell her how he felt. He found her in the kitchen, preparing a meal for the evening. She looked up as he entered, surprised but smiling softly. "Amora," he began, his voice filled with emotion. "I don't know if this is right, but I need to tell you something. You've captured my heart in a way I never expected. I don't know how or when it happened, but I've fallen in love with you." Amora's eyes widened, her cheeks flushing with surprise. She looked down, clearly uncertain. "Jide," she said softly, I don't know what to say. You are kind, but our words are different. I'm just..." "Don't say that," Jide interrupted gently. "You are strong and kind, and I admire you deeply. I don't care about status or position. I care about you." Amora looked into his eyes, a flicker of hope mixed with fear. She seemed to consider his words before nodding slightly, a shy smile forming on her lips. "I feel the same," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. Their hearts raced as they looked at each other, knowing they had both crossed a line but unable to deny the bond between them. Jide promised to speak to Kola, to tell him the truth about his feelings for Amora. The next morning, Jide approached his brother, nervous but determined. He explained his feelings for Amora, hoping Kola would understand. Kola was initially taken aback, but seeing the sincerity in his brother's eyes, he nodded slowly. "If this is truly what you want, Jide, then you have my blessing," Kola said, clapping his brother on the shoulder. "Amora is a good woman. I can see why you love her." With Kola's blessing, Jide approached Amora once more, this time with confidence and purpose. Together, they made plans for the future, sharing dreams of a life built on mutual respect and love. Their love had started unexpectedly, blossoming between duty and distance, but it grew stronger with each passing day. And as Jide held Amora's hand, he knew that this visit to his brother's house had changed his life forever.